Hi everyone, it's John from What Up. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to go through what I think will be the major challenges that Rafe the showrunner, the cast and crew, and Amazon Prime will encounter while they're filming the first season of The Wheel of Time. I'll also talk a little bit about how I think they're going to overcome them. I'll probably be wrong. I usually am when it comes to that stuff, but I love the speculation. Also, don't forget to stick around at the end of the video because I feature my community section. And today it's something a little bit different. It's not a Wheel of Time creator so much as a Wheel of Time community. Now, Twitter of Time is a community that took me in and has supported me and the channel since day one. So stick around, I'll talk a little bit about them and introduce you to some of the crazy characters they have. Alright, before we start, spoiler warning. In this video, we're looking at spoilers up to and including the end of The Great Hunt, because that's where I think the first season will end. So if you haven't read that far yet, or if you want to watch the show completely fresh, maybe you should go watch one of their videos for now. Alright, let's get on with the video. The first major hurdle I think that Amazon had to deal with, long before they even got a hold of the showrunner Rafe or anyone else, is the pacing. You're looking at a 14-novel book series. And that doesn't include the prequels, the short stories, the big white book of bad art. Yeah, I know. It's that's what a lot of people call it. The companion book, which has all kinds of new and extended information. Now, the whole series clocks in at just a little over 4 million words, according to Barnes & Noble, which, that's insane. That's a lot. So, Amazon would have had to think, how are we going to do this? Now, you have to weigh how much money they're going to make each year versus how much money they're going to throw at it versus audience fatigue. Game of Thrones went on for 8 seasons, and the first 5 or 6 were fantastic. Season 7, it was good. Season 8, according to most people, was pretty abysmal. I won't tell you what I think because I never watched it. I gave up long before Season 8. So you're looking at audience fatigue as well. How long can you keep the audience's attention? If the first season's super popular, can they keep that up? Can they keep the same level of hype? So they had to figure out how they're going to break this down. Now, personally, I think that about 4 hours per book is probably enough. You look at the Lord of the Rings extended editions, there's 3 books, it's about 12 hours. So that's 4 hours per book. Granted, they did cut a lot out. However, they did it in such a way that you didn't really know what was happening. Now, Rafe, the showrunner, has mentioned that he doesn't want to cut any major plot lines, and he'd like to not cut any characters at all. I don't know how he's going to do that, but I believe the pacing is probably going to be 1 or 2 books per season. Now, the first few books, 100%, you're probably looking at multiple books per season. I've said it before in my other videos, probably 2 books for the first season, Eye of the World and Great Hunt, and it's all kinds of evidence to support that. nae'blis did a really good video on that the other day. If you want to go check out his channel and look at that, I think it's his newest video. It supports a lot of information and theories on why that is. So, they had to figure out how they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to go much beyond 7 or 8 seasons with this book series. They may go as high as 10, but that's a lot to commit to. Alright, what is the next hurdle that they would have had to look at? And that's the characters. There are 2,782... 2,782 distinct named characters in this book series. And Rafe has mentioned that he doesn't want to cut any of them if he can help it. That's a lot of characters. That's a lot of actors, actresses, extras, people you have to cast. And not just that, some of these people you meet in the first novel, and you don't see them again for 3 or 4 novels. But they're back, and they come back and they reoccur a few times. So for consistency, they're going to have contracts with actors over multiple years, like a long time. Some of the contracts may be you show up for a few episodes here. Huron, he's a good example. He only shows up for The Great Hunt, and then he comes back a couple more times later on in the series, but for very brief periods of time. And that happens a lot. So how are they going to handle all of these characters? I think what they're going to do is they're going to amalgamate a lot of the characters into one. So they may take 3 or 4 or 5 characters that had minor roles in the books and kind of cram them into one character. That way they can cast one actor or actress to take care of that role, and they don't have to pay 5 or 6 people over the course of 10 years to play those characters. Good example for that would be the Black Aja. There's a lot of them, and a lot of them really don't do anything. They're just kind of there. They cause a lot of hype. They may be in 1 or 2 battle scenes here and there. They may be mentioned 1 or 2 times here or there, but they're not real important to the whole story overall. So they may take a bunch of them and cram them all together. That's what I think they're going to do. That 2782 is probably going to be trimmed down to, I won't even guess, but I assume they're going to have to trim that down at least a little bit. Now, the next thing goes along with the characters. That's plot lines. There are so many plot lines in this book series. You're looking at, I wouldn't even begin to count them. And they're all pretty important. I mean, to be fair, there's been a lot of reaction from the fans and what they think they should cut. And I won't get into what they would be, because that's enough for a whole other video. But there are some major plots, and they are major, that could be cut that don't interfere with the story overall. And there's a ton of minor ones, too, that could be cut that really also don't interfere with the story overall. And only the people who've read the series at least once, if not more, would even notice if they're cut. Another analog to Lord of the Rings, you're looking at Tom Bombadil. He was not in the movies. And I know a lot of really hardcore Lord of the Rings fans that were quite upset that the whole section of the book where he was not there in the movie bothered them quite a bit. But for other people who maybe have read Lord of the Rings 10, 15 years before the movies come out, like myself, or they weren't super diehard fans, they didn't notice because everything was cut together so well and it flowed together as a movie. So one of the things I do want to mention that this is an adaptation, and it's going to be treated as such. You're not getting a shot for shot of everything in the books, and I've said that a bunch of times. They are going to change some stuff, and we already know for a fact that they're changing a few things in the first season from what's happening in the books. We can also pretty much guess that they're using flashbacks to take care of New Spring. And Rafe, the showrunner, has mentioned to the fandom on Twitter and, through various news articles that he does plan on extending some plot lines and extending some characters and extending some other things and running things concurrently. So we may not get all of the Eye of the World all at once. We may have some plot lines from the Great Hunt, or the Dragon Reborn, or the Shadow Rising, or even the Lord of Chaos happening at the same time, because it would make sense on the screen to see certain things happening at the same time and cutting back and forth, rather than going through it chronologically like the books did. So they do have a lot of plot lines. They have a lot of wiggle room, too, where they can cut some things. They're not going to please everybody. That's just the thing. Some people are going to be upset no matter what happens. I mean, if the person has the wrong hair color, the wrong eye color, or if they notice that they're not wearing that green tunic that they should be wearing in that one shot, there are people like that out there, and that's okay. They're allowed to feel upset about that, but realistically, it's an adaptation, and you're not going to get everything perfect with books. I plan on watching the show and enjoying it for what it is when it happens. All right, let's get on to our next point. Next, we have channeling. How are they going to show it? Well, I did an episode way back in, I believe, October on how I think they're going to show channeling, and it was long before the channel looked as slick and as cool as it does now, thanks to Alitza. Her Twitter handle is down below in the description box. Follow her on there, and when her store goes live with all of her nice designs, and I've seen them. I actually looked at them today. They're fantastic. I'll be plugging that here because I think you guys should check her out. Anyway, on to channeling. So how are they going to show it? Well, there's a few different ways they can do it. Now, you notice in the picture I have on the screen here, this way and back. There we go. That's from New Spring. It's a graphic novel, comic book, and basically they show the end result of what's happening when they channel. And that's one way they could do it. I mean, it's the only real, I guess you could say, quote-unquote canon way that we have of them showing it. However, we do know they're going to change a bunch of stuff, and it's an adaptation, so they could show the end result, and they could use fancy camera angles and tricks and stuff to make us know who's doing what. Maybe zoom in on a channeler and talk about them a bit, and then show the end result of what they're doing, a fireball or whatever else like that. Or another way they could do it is they could show things from the point of view of the channeler. So you have the point of view of the channeler, and they're making the weaves happen. So you actually see the big ropes of earth and fire and water and air come out of them and interact with whatever they're doing, and that happens that way. Or there's another way you could do it. It could be not from their point of view, and you could kind of just see a little bit of both. Or they may mix all of that together. And I'm really interested in how they're going to do this, because no matter how you do it, it's going to be mostly CG. There might be some practical effects in there, and now, to be fair, I'm a massive fan of practical effects. I love all the old horror movies. I love all the older movies from the 80s and 90s that generally used just practical and no CG at all. But I do like CG if it's done so well you can't notice it's CG. So we know that, or the rumor is, they're putting between $6 and $8 million as a budget for each episode for the first season, so there is some room there for a heavy CG budget. What are they going to do with it? I'm not entirely sure. I'm really interested to see how they're going to do channeling, and I think that's going to be a major one, because if it's done wrong, it's going to look cheesy and it will ruin it. The only people that will watch it if it's done real bad is going to be diehard fans like myself. I don't want it to go the route of Winter Dragon. I don't want it to be that bad. And this is one of the make or break things that could ruin the show. Let's hope that the CG department does a real good job with that. Now, the next thing kind of goes along with what I was talking about with the CG for channeling. It's Shadow Spawn. There is a plethora of Shadow Spawn in the books, and they are all scary and big and burly and crazy looking, and some of it can be done with practical effects. So, for example, you look at Lord of the Rings, the orcs looked fantastic, but there was only a couple of people playing those orcs. All the close-up shots had people in, makeup, prosthetics, stilts, things like that, and the rest of it was all CG. So there are some scenes in the books where you have thousands of these Shadow Spawn on the screen at the same time, big battle scenes, and I think they're going to probably have to use CG for that stuff. There's no way they'll get that many extras. Now, we know for sure from one of my videos that I done, I believe before Christmas, that they cast a stuntman that's going to be doing some Trollocs. Now, it's the only one that I know of that's going to be playing Trollocs so far, but he's probably going to be taking care of the close-up shots in prosthetics using practical effects, which makes me happy because I really do like practical effects. But if there's a dozen of them or 2 dozen on the screen, you're not going to have that many actors in makeup on the screen at the same time. It would take too much time, too much money. It probably would be cheaper to CG them in. Now, again, this goes with channeling. If it's done right and done well so you can't tell it's CG, it will be fantastic. But this is another big make or break. The Fades, the Drahakar, the Worms in the Blight, and a few other Shadow Spawn you see later on in the series, they need CG to look okay. Some of it can be done with practical effects, but, for example, the Fades, they're slightly phased out of space and time. Their cloak doesn't move. They move with a sinuous grace. You're going to need CG for that. So, again, if it's done well, so you don't notice it's CG, I think they'll kill the Shadow Spawn. It'll be great, but it could break the show as well. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about today is location. Now, in the book series, there are dozens of countries, and they all look very different. There's some very iconic scenes of some very iconic locations in the books that they need to bring to life. The pictures you see scrolling by here are a combination of things tweeted out by Rafe, official things from the Wheel of Time, pictures of people who've been near or by the sets, pictures that news articles have released about the areas they're filming in. So it's kind of a wide range of these. And they look really good. I mean, don't get me wrong. These locations that they seem to be filming in look fantastic. Now, if you look at them, like here, that's beautiful. I'm not quite sure what they're using it for, but man, it looks really nice. And then some of them that are mocked up, like this one here, this is a set picture from Terran Ferry. It looks awesome. It looks like how I picture Terran Ferry in my head. And you have other ones like the Chateau. It looks like how I would imagine the Palace in Camelin would look from the books. So, as far as I'm concerned so far, they're doing a really good job of shooting in spots that's going to look really nice. Now, why is this really important? Well, everybody wants the show to look good. Everybody wants the locations to look like they do in their heads from reading the books, but that's not why it's important. Why it's important is the show needs to look amazing and slick. Let's talk about Game of Thrones for a second. When Game of Thrones first dropped in its first season, people who read the books did watch the show, but they were not the majority viewers. The majority viewers were people who have not read the books, who saw the previews and went, man, that looks really good. It looks amazing. So, when Wheel of Time drops, all of us fans, and there are millions of us, will watch the show. However, we're going to be the minority viewers. I mean, to be fair, not everyone who's read the books is going to watch the show. Not everyone who's purchased the books is going to watch the show. But a lot of us will. But the majority of their viewers are going to be people who have maybe never read this series before. They'll see a preview on TV, they've read an article about it, like Game of Thrones, and they went, man, that looks really nice. That looks really cool. It's like a sweeping fantasy epic with magic and like monsters and all kinds of cool stuff. And that's how they're going to gain their viewership. And that's how they'll keep their viewership. Now, don't get me wrong. The first season will come out, and I guarantee you, and I would bet anything on this, that the book sales will surge, and a lot of people who've never read the books before will read the books and they'll love them. But that may not be enough to keep them. Because if they're not hardcore fans, or if they haven't read the series before, or if they don't plan on reading the series and they're going to watch it just as a show they would watch maybe on a Sunday night with their family or their buddies, it has to look slick and it has to look good. So locations have to be down pat. They may not have to match how me or you think they look in our heads, and that's been the case so far with a lot of the show. A lot of people are very upset about certain things because it doesn't match their headcanon or how they think it should look. And it's okay to be upset about that. It really is. But again, I've said it before, it's an adaptation. Things are going to change. They're doing this for the majority of viewers later on. They want to keep these people, and they will eventually be drawn into the Wheel of Time world, and they'll buy the books, and they'll be like us. They'll have read the books. But you have to draw them in first, and things have to look slick and polished and really neat to do so. So locations are very important. And, I mean, like I said, the pictures we see so far, they look really good. So, Rafe, you're doing a fantastic job. Sarah and the rest of the crew, you guys are doing really well. I'm very hopeful that Wheel of Time is going to be a fantastic show, and I'm looking forward to it. Alright, before we get to the community section, I do want to mention that if you enjoy what I'm doing here on the channel and you like my videos, click the like button. That's what it's for. Keeps YouTube metrics happy, and it makes me happy to see that as well. Also, if you haven't subbed to the channel yet, please think about doing so. It takes 2 seconds to click that sub icon and then click the notification bell afterwards. I had a goal when I first started the channel of getting 1,000 subscribers, and I'm pretty close, and it's been just a little over 3 months. The support from you folks has been overwhelming, and I want to thank you for that. As well, that notification icon is pretty important, at least for my channel, because I don't always put out videos on a regular schedule. There's usually 2 or 3 a week, but some may be on the weekends, some may be during the middle of the week. There's no rhyme or reason when I put them out. It's just when I have time to do so. So anyway, now on to the community section. I do want to thank you guys for staying with us this far in the video, and we're looking at a little bit of time to go through the community section today, but it is pretty interesting. So for those of you that have Twitter, Twitter of Time is a hashtag that you can follow on Twitter, and most of the people that follow that tweet in character accounts, and they tweet in character the whole time, so it's pretty neat. It's a good laugh a lot of the times. So you see memes, they talk back and forth, different creator content they put on there. It's a good time. Now, they have supported me almost from day one when I started my channel, and I want to do a shout out to them because you guys have all been really fantastic, and I really do appreciate everything you've done for me, all the support and whatnot. It's been great. So we're going to try something here, and this may take a little bit. So we have a tweet I put out a couple of days ago, and basically I had said, Twitter Time, if you want your character account featured, let me know. Leave a comment down below and write what you'd like me to say. And my original plan was to feature maybe a half dozen character accounts, because that's all I thought I would get for a response. Yeah, no. The response was overwhelming. So many character accounts. And I probably don't have time to go through all of them unless you guys want to listen to a 30-minute video, but we're going to go through quite a bit of them, and I will at least mention everyone by name, and I'll scroll down through, and that way you guys can see the little blurbs that they have written up there, and for those of you who put those blurbs in, you'll see them in my video, which is great. And I'm also going to put in the description box down below the Twitter handle of every single one of these people. So if you join Twitter of Time, follow them all. They're great characters, and they do a lot of really fun stuff. I will also mention that the Wheel of Time creators, like from Amazon Prime, Rafe, Sarah, the cast, a lot of the crew, they all follow Twitter of Time as well. So when you tweet out there, they do interact with the fans. I've actually gotten some interaction with a few of the different people from the cast and crew quite a few times. And it's really, really great to see, and it's heartwarming that they do take the time to interact with the fans over Twitter. All right, so without further ado, let's go through some of these accounts. The first 2 we have up here are Androl and Pevra. You guys may remember them from the books. And Androl does a lot of really great music, so he posts a lot of music on Twitter, and he's fantastic. So if you get a chance to check him out, please do so. You'll see a lot of really great music he puts up. And Pevra, his Aes Sedai, supports him wholeheartedly. And like I said, these people tweet in their characters, so you can see that there. Then we have Maurice Sedai. Maurice is a minor character, but so fun to play. And like I said, they tweet out as the characters. Then we have one of the Demandrids. And then look at that. Maurice Sedai talking back. So many other great character accounts. Lan Mandragran, Chal Borhone. I'm butchering names because I'm trying to talk fast. I'm so sorry. Tigraine. And we have Weirman. it's just so many people. So look, here we go, putting stuff up. There's one of the wise ones, Bridget. You can see these things and you can see what they're saying here. I'm not going to read them all because there's just so many of them, but I want to get through at least the majority of these character accounts. Eben Hopwell, remember my name. It's pretty good. Ross the Stone Stands Fowler, so that's pretty good. Nakomi, who no one knows who she is or why she is or what she is, but she's here. Randall Thor by default, he is a really big supporter of a lot of people on the Twitter of Time, and he retweets a lot of stuff. He has a ton of followers, so follow him as well. Marin Elvire, and if you see later on we get through here, you'll see her husband, her Twitter husband's on here as well, tweeting. And there's one of the High Lords, and there's Dane, Witches Get Stitches. What can I say? Look, there's Marin's husband, Egwene's father, and she's commenting on how much she loves him. He's so cute, right? Gareth Bryan, here, Wily Water Bottle Hunter. So it's not just characters from the books. People are making up their own things. So Rand's pipes here, Matt's hat, and the water bottle that Sarah and the rest of the cast and crew like to hashtag WOT water bottle. Somebody made an account following them as well. Magic in the Blood, Saluka. This one here is actually a new account. People are joining Twitter Time, left, right, and center. There's all kinds of people joining this little community we have. Call me Marion. And white-haired Barry Wise, One Dreamwalker. New Year, New Spear, Couladin, Lord Terrangill, and every Wheel of Time character. So this one here, they list and count every Wheel of Time character with a name, and they do a lot of random polls as well. So I think I said earlier in the video, 2,782. It's a lot of characters, but you see a lot of polls. You see a lot of interaction from different people in the fandom on Twitter Time. It's really fantastic. Alan Sadai, and I'm not going to go back and recut that because I said things wrong. Like I said, there's just so many people here, and I am kind of excited about this because these are people I interact with on a daily basis, and I like seeing them on here. Lusterin, Varen Mathwin, my number one top-notch, absolute favorite character from the series. Varen, where's our casting? It's great to see these people doing this. Leanie's Daily Advice, Old Wise and Sassy, deal with it. Yeah, she puts out stuff every day. Skinny Innkeeper. We all know you can't trust a Skinny Innkeeper. A Pair of Silverpike. Not a character, but an object from the Wheel of Time. Very good. Willow Carr. And there's Mr. Valda. Uncloaked Injera. Dobrain. Nynaeve. There's our Nynaeve. High Inquisitor. David the Grey Man. And then we have our Illuminator. And it's just so many people. So I haven't even scratched the surface of the people that actually replied to this tweet. And like I said, I can't really read everything or else this video would be a half hour long. But if you guys have Twitter and you're a Wheel of Time fan, this is something you guys really should check out. It's a fantastic community. Everyone is very supportive. I have not met a single person on here who, people on the internet. They're not always nice. I interact with quite a few of them in other aspects of my channel and whatnot. But here on Twitter, I have not seen a single mean person. They're all fantastic. They're all very supportive of each other and of the Wheel of Time and of the cast and crew. And like I said, cast and crew interacts a lot with them on a daily basis. So that's the end of the community section. Like I said, I could go on for hours about Twitter of Time. So I'm going to leave a list of all of these people down in the description box down below. Please follow them. And as well, my Twitter handle is down there. Follow me. I'm on Twitter of Time as well. And here's to many more, guys.